Welcome to Chatty Mondays.
Chatty Mondays, Chatty Mondays.
Welcome to the BraidAndTinker channel. My name is Melanie and this is a video cast all about knitting. It's actually really funny. I was going to not record a video because I was like, oh, I don't really have anything to knit on and I don't have like lots of stuff that I'm working on, and I pulled all my projects together and it's actually quite a big pile. So yeah, grab some tea and coffee or whatever you want to drink, maybe water. I'm drinking water, and grab your knitting. That's what I have. This is a sock. I'm working on a sock. I haven't worked on a sock in ages, honestly. But yeah, if you hear any like baby crying noises, I don't have a baby, it's the upstairs neighbours. So yeah, don't worry about it, it's fine. It's not my baby. I'm sure somebody will pick it up eventually. Welcome everybody. I have a ton of stuff to show you this episode for some reason. I've just been like casting on stuff with reckless abandon, I feel, and yeah, it's like I'm full on back in knitting mode. Yeah, so I cast this on this morning because I was like, ooh, I have an idea for a sock, and yeah, I had to work, so I didn't get very far. I have like 4 lines of ribbing. Anyway, one of my finished objects for this episode is another market bag. I had a coral coloured market bag. Did I even show that in the podcast? I've shown it on Instagram, I'm sure. I'm not actually sure I actually showed it in the podcast. I'm not actually sure I showed it in this video. But this is the Edda market bag. The pattern is by Paula Strict, which is a German designer. And usually these like French market bags or produce bags are crocheted, but this is a knitted version. And I had finished this a while ago, but I hadn't woven in all the ends. And I did do that this week. I wove in all the ends and I put on one of my labels, and therefore I find it counts as a finished object. I've actually used this already quite a bit in shopping and for other stuff, just like carrying around little bits and bobs, because even though the holes are quite big, you know, they're not that big, so nothing can really fall through. I have to say though, this was knit with a cotton yarn by Rico, and it's quite a thin yarn, thin cotton yarn. And I have the other market bag that I made, the coral one, I knit that out of Scheepjes Calista, and I'm making another one out of that particular yarn, but a blue one, and it's a lot thicker. It's a thicker yarn, and I think, if I remember correctly, this is like 125 meters per 50 grams, and this is 85 meters per 50 grams. So that kind of shows you the difference in weight and length, and the thickness of the yarn. So this one is almost finished, but I ran out of yarn, because the first time I made this bag out of this type of yarn, I didn't use the correct needle size. I used a smaller needle size, and I don't think I did everything correctly, which meant that I had quite some yarn, well, just like a little bit of yarn left. And then this time I used the correct needle size, which is a size 7, which is, I do like the look of this bag better than the orange one I'd made last time. But yeah, I ran out of yarn. So 2 balls of this is not enough for 1 bag. This is the 85 meters balls. So I need at least 3 balls of that. And I'll have some left, but that's fine. So I ordered some more of this yarn. The only thing is that the store that I wanted to order it from didn't have this colorway in stock, and they said they could order it for me, but I'd have to wait. And I was like, no, don't worry about it. So I've just ordered some different colors, and what I'm going to do is just like undo the handles and just have different color handles on this bag. But I really like the thickness of the yarn better than this yarn. So although this is quite floopy and drapey and quite nice, I think this yarn will be a bit sturdier. Anyway, my plan is to knit 1 million of these and have them around as, you know, just everywhere in my house, so I don't have to use plastic bags. And also give them away as gifts for my kids' teachers and you know, for Christmas presents. I'll talk a bit more about that later. Just to kind of have them around, and they're really useful, and you know, it's great to have a bag that you made yourself or that somebody you know has made, and you don't have to like use a what's the word, a plastic bag. So yeah, it's one of those things that I've been really trying to do, is reduce my sort of plastic, sort of purchasing stuff without plastic in it. I don't use plastic bottles. I always use like a stainless steel bottle for water. I try to buy deodorant that comes in these like cardboard pots. Yeah, I try to sort of like minimize my plastic use as much as possible. I think that's really important. But yeah, tangent. Something else that I have been knitting on was my Ranunculus. This was my second Ranunculus. This is knit out of silk, pure silk from Knit with Olive, and the balls of pure silk from Knit with Olive are, if I remember correctly, they are 500 meters per 100 gram ball, and so this is about a kilometer. I used 2 balls, so this is about a kilometer's worth of silk. So funny thing, I finished this on Saturday and I blocked it and left it in the living room on a yoga mat, and I'd forgotten about my robot vacuum. So on Sunday, when I wasn't in, this was still on the floor in the living room, and the robot vacuum went through the living room, and you can guess what happened. It ate up this brand new sweater. So there are like some little bits where it kind of snagged. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. I might just give it a little reblock to sort of get everything back in shape. It didn't really damage anything per se. It's just that some bits are now a bit more fluffy than other bits. So this was my second Ranunculus, which is a sweater pattern by Midori Hirose, and it's a really fast pattern because you knit them on size 6mm needles, so it's quite large, and they knit really quickly. I think I finished this in like a week, which is insane. I really like it. I really like the pattern, but I'm also, since it was my second one pretty short time. I'm kind of sick of it now. So it's a good pattern to have, I think. And especially if you're thinking about knitting something as a gift for somebody else. You know, I knit one in a week. I guess that was, I did have like the week off. So with my kid, I did have quite a bit of time. So that's my disclaimer. But you can knit them quite quickly. And so if, you know, knitting something as a present or for Christmas or whatever, this is a great pattern. You know, this one I knit with silk. The last one I knit with a single strand of mohair, but you can knit it with like a ton of different types of yarn. There are so many projects of this on Ravelry where you can see what other people have knitted out of, and you know, it's a great page for inspiration, I would say. It's a good pattern to have in the back of my mind. You know, I've already paid for the pattern once, so whatever I knit out of it is just bonus. That reminds me, I completely forgot to tell you what I'm wearing. This is the Rose cardigan by Andrea Mowry. So most people knit this probably out of like a sport weight. Most that I've seen are like sport weight indie dyed yarns. This is, I think it's, do I have it here? Yeah, I do. I knit this out of Drops Nord in colorway 7. I don't think it'll focus, doesn't matter. Colorway 7. And I held it double with a cream colored mohair strand. And because this is an alpaca yarn, this cardigan is super heavy and super floopy, and it really drags and hangs and stretches. And I've already unpicked, there is like a band that goes across this normally in this cable, and I unpicked that because it was already so floopy, so I put in just a regular what's this, 2x1, no, it's just a 1x1 rib to kind of like hope to kind of have it together. I also added like a crochet chain in the back to give it more support, but it's just getting bigger and bigger. The problem is also I lost quite a bit of weight during lockdown, and this thing is just getting bigger and bigger on me, and it's lovely for on the couch, and you know, when it's cold, because it's alpaca and mohair, it's literally the warmest sweater I own. But yeah, so it's great for like when it starts to get colder and you're sitting behind your desk all day and you get freezing. This is perfect for that. It's not really retaining its shape, and it's not really nice. I really like the color of this thing, and I really like the mohair on it, and I really love the cable. The thing I don't like is the bat wings. I just don't really, they're very what's the word? Not practical when I'm like trying to get into a winter coat, because your winter coat goes like this, and then the whole thing is kind of pulled up weirdly. So I have been thinking about knitting like a similar style thing in like a crew neck, or maybe a cardigan, but then without the bat wings, and just using this the cable on the sleeves. But that would, you know, it would probably take considerable effort and brain power that I haven't had up until now. So oh sorry, I just knocked about the camera. I haven't had yet, so we'll see how that works out. But this is what I'm wearing today. And now I've completely lost all my flow on my... Oh, here we go. Yeah, so next finished object is my honey clutch, which is this. This is a clutch in a brioche honey stitch, and the pattern is by PetiteKnit. And a couple of days ago I put in the lining for this. So I'd already put in the zipper last time, but I hadn't put in the lining. I'm using this to store my sunglasses because apparently I have many. I don't know why, but yeah. So I put this in. I was kind of rushing because I just wanted to finish this project. So it's not my neatest work, and I hadn't touched my sewing machine in like, I don't know, 3 years or something like that. So it was a bit weird, but it's in there, and now I have a good place to store my sunglasses. So I do really like the yellow zipper on the sort of grey thing. Somebody asked if this was knit out of leftover yarn from my cardigan, but it's not. As you can see, it's a different yarn. This was, I think this is like Stash Biche et Buch, whatever that is. I never know how to pronounce those things. It's the lambda wool, and then in a light grey colour, and I used a grey mohair from Drops held together with that. So it's very similar. It's definitely something I gravitate towards, but it's not the same yarn. It's not the same colour. I hope that the baby upstairs is not too loud. I think there's something weird going on with my camera, but it's just the sun popping out. Sorry about that. I have a new cast on. I'm so excited about finishing my Ranunculus that I decided to cast on some mittens. So in 2019, that was pre-P word, we were allowed to travel to distant places and go do stuff and meet people, random people, and it was fun. And I went to, in September 2019, I went to the Oslo Knitting Festival and in Norway, and this is the program booklet, and it has a bunch of patterns in it, and one of the patterns is the Vandriar Mittens. I don't really know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Anyway, so I'm knitting that. It's a pattern by Leila Hendrickson, and you can knit them either in stranded color work or something called, let me just find the picture for you guys, Smart Brioche. And it doesn't really become clear from the pattern, the pictures in the book, but what I've seen on Instagram is people who are knitting the brioche version of that mitten. It's actually a reversible mitten, so you have two different sides of it, which seems really interesting. I am, however, not doing that. I am knitting the stranded color work version, and this is how much I did yesterday. Now, as you can see, the cuff is different to the one in the book, and I have to find the picture again. So the cuff is it's two strands held together to make a mild sort of cuff with buttons on it, and I didn't want to do that. I cycle a lot in winter. Actually, always, because I don't have a car. I just cycle everywhere like a normal Dutch person. And when you're cycling in the cold, your hands get really cold. But because you're moving and you're doing things, whatever is covered gets really warm. So everything that's covered by your coat and your whatever is really warm, but your hands are really cold. So when you wear a mitten, I don't like having a really long cuff, because it just adds to the bulk, it adds to the heat, and you get really sticky wrists, and I just don't like that. So I'm just knitting something for my hands, and I put in like a tiny little cuff just to sort of make sure I don't have any gaps, but then that's fine. On this side, you're just knitting like a mild, just holding the two strands together. And that is really what makes this mitten fly off the needles, because this side is just like whoosh, two strands together, no brain thinking. And then on this side, you're just reading the chart. And then there is a sort of like a thumb gusset thing going on here. So that's quite nice. It's to the side. I just really love this pattern. It's so, what's the word? Like geometrical, that's the word. It's very geometrical to me. It looks quite Art Deco-y, and I don't know if that's just because I've used this yellow color, which makes it look golden, but anyway, love this mitten. And for the yarn, I am using Ullcentrum from Sweden. Let me just grab it's 100% Swedish wool collected from Swedish yarn. And I just bought that at a local yarn store here in Haarlem in the Netherlands. For some reason they had Swedish yarn and I couldn't, not buy it. This colorway is colorway 1172. I don't know if they still have that, and this is all pretty old. The yellow one is colorway 2132, it's pretty floofy, and this one is quite soft as well, and it's quite interesting because it's yellow but it has like some random dark hairs into it. So really like this one's a bit more coarse, less soft, and it has less of a halo, but it's still really nice. I think this yarn is perfect for colorwork mittens, and this just went so fast. We'll see how fast I get the second one finished, but I'm definitely planning on knitting a bunch more just to have in my Christmas box type thing. So putting those here. I have these in my, this is Plistra which is also from Norway, and I have a little X-Files button just to keep it super millennial. That is on this. And then this morning I was like, I have an idea for a sock pattern, and so I cast on with this yarn, and I cast on, and it's going to be a sock pattern that I'm going to make available for purchase whenever it's finished. It'll probably take ages, so maybe this is the last time you'll see this, but until it's finished. But this is Mondim yarn, and the colorway is 102. And I think like ages ago that I tried to knit something with this, and then it didn't really work, and put it back onto the ball, because a bunch of this was already undone. But yeah, not much to say about this, unfortunately, but it's getting there. I'm really racing through. That was like 5-6 projects. I don't know what's happening to my screen. I'm so sorry, it looks weird. I just look like a red blob talking. Maybe I can like fix it. Hang on. Oh, that did something. Okay. I'm not going to re-record this. I am too lazy for that. Sorry. Not going to happen. So most of these projects I knit with stash yarn. This was stash yarn. The Mittens stash yarn. This is something that's been in my stash for a million years, I would say. Stash yarn. This was stash yarn. And this is something I bought really recently, so I'm not counting this as stash yarn. But I feel like I'm, you know, why does it feel like such an accomplishment to knit something out of stash yarn? I don't know. It's weird. I did pay for this stuff, you know, a while ago, just not recently, but it feels like you're knitting with free yarn. Actually, I'm just really happy that I'm clearing out my yarn boxes. I have like 3 big tubs of clear plastic in my living room, filled with yarn. One is filled with sock yarn, one is filled with fancy indie dyed yarn, and the bottom one is filled with all of my sort of more rustic yarns. And yeah, it's weird. I really want to, by the end of this year, have one of them emptied out and have like gone from 3 to 2 boxes, tubs of yarn in my living room. It would be better, I think, but that's my goal. We'll see how far we get. My house is very tiny. It's not a big house. So even for Dutch standards, this is a tiny house. So it would be better to have less yarn, more space. So it doesn't work making a lot of stuff for myself, because then I'm just having the yarn as objects, and that's still taking up space. So I think I need to kind of focus on, I knocked the camera again. I'm so sorry. I need to focus on Christmas knitting, I think. I know it's only July. It's almost August. August 1st on Sunday. It's my birthday. But I know from every year I don't have enough time for Christmas knitting. I get stressed. It happens. And then, you know, I'm pretty good. I let go. I don't worry too much about it. But what if this is the year that I like get my together and you know, prepared, and I have tons of knitted gifts for people out of stash yarn? It would be a Christmas miracle. We'll see how much of that will happen. I always have a knitting bag with Christmas knits on the go. This is in my little, like under my coffee table, I have another tub of sort of like emergency knitting stuff, but it has my needles and it has like these things so that I can, if I'm like knitting a sweater and I need to split for the sleeves, to use some of this. I have my notions in here. There's like 6 million tape measures in the tub as well. But it also has my Christmas bag. This is a Bertie and Poppet Christmas bag. Love this one so much. But this is not the Christmas knitting that I'm talking about. This is Christmas knitting that is decorations. So it has these things. So this is a particular color of red that all of my Christmas decoration is knit out of. And at some point I realized that it was getting harder and harder to find this online. So I've ordered like 6 balls of this, most of which is still in the tubs. But yeah, that's like the extent of my craziness. And I knit these Christmas balls from the Arne and Carlos Christmas Balls to Knit book. This is one I finished a while ago. It's the little, it looks better when they're stuffed and there's like a little thing to hang them on, but this is what they look when you haven't stuffed them. This is what they look like when you haven't stuffed them yet. And then there's another Arne and Carlos book that I really like. That's knitting dolls. And I don't particularly like knitting the dolls because they take a lot of time, but I do like knitting the outfits for the dolls because you know who can wear this? Barbie can wear this. And Barbie in this household does not get cold, so she has practical sweaters. I love this yarn cozy. It was from Jawohl, which was a Rotterdam yarn store. Unfortunately, Saskia has closed her store and she is very busy with other stuff, and she's building this online community of people doing she's very busy with a sort of like handmade sustainability community, so you should look into that if that's your thing. I don't think, was this from my Mittens or was this from my Christmas bag? Anyway, so this is the Christmas decorations bag. So I don't want to focus too much on Christmas decorations quite yet. I want to focus on Christmas presents. So yeah, I want to knit like a pile of these market bags, mittens. I might knit some more of these because they're quite cute. I do quite like this. Mittens are a really good one. Hats are pretty good. There's this new-ish hat pattern by Andrea Mowry called the Flicker and Flame hat. And you use, oh, what's that really expensive yarn? I think it's Spin Cycle. You can get it here in Europe, but it's like, you have to sell a kidney to like finish any type of project in that. But there is like a sock yarn that kind of mimics that effect. I think it's like the Crazy Sauber Ball, and there's like other yarns. There's some Patterns Croy sock yarn that kind of mimics that effect that the Spin Cycle yarn has. And so I have a bunch of that. So that would be a good hat to make to finish some of that sock yarn. Yeah, so let me know what you are knitting on, and if you in particularly are knitting on any Christmas presents yet, or you know, probably not. And if you do, and if like you're a person that likes to knit Christmas presents, I am really, really interested in what it is that you knit as presents for people. So, you know, let me know, drop a comment in the comment section, and then I will read and respond to that because I usually do. Yeah, that's it for this episode. I think it was super rambly and the screen was weird, and I remember now that I forgot to get my microphone, so the sound's going to be a bit weird as well. It's part of the, let's just say it's part of the spontaneity of recording these knitting videos. The unplanned nonsense of it all is just, it's part of the charm. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again soon. Please like and subscribe and do all the things that people do on the internet. And I'll see you again soon. Bye!